Hello, Mr. Riley. Good boy. Riley is such a good boy. Such a good boy. So patient. Not complaining at all. That was where our tent was last night. That little flat spot. That's kind of outlined by the rectangle there. It's drier than the rest of the ground. Alright, so I got Riley clipped in here. Gotta get my poles. Yep, right there. That was where our tent was. And those were a bunch of sticks that I cleared off the ground to make it a better spot for setting our tent up. And I was a little disoriented earlier this morning. I'm not totally sure, or slightly confused, which direction we need to go in to get back to the trail, but I'm pretty sure it's this way. I think we just walked through the woods this way looking for a flat spot. And we should be back on trail soon. Oh, buddy. Yep, this looks like the trail here. There's a white blaze. There we go. All right, here we go. We're back on trail. Okay, so today, I believe, is Tuesday, August 20th. That means it's day number 110. Nice little stream there. We do not need water. Just gonna hop over this. And it's good to get moving. It's great to get moving, because that means we can warm up. And Riley can warm up, and I can warm up. And we can put yesterday and last night and this morning in the rear view mirror. Good boy. Doesn't it feel good to get moving again, Riley? Yes, it feels so good to have everything together and get moving again. So last night was not our most comfortable night. If you watched yesterday's video, day number 109, you will know that it started off as a warm day, typical day, sunny day, beautiful day, blue skies, sweating a lot, hot, taking breaks. Took breaks with Rome and Firemaster. And then the clouds rolled in and thunder started to be heard, and it started raining heavily. And then the rain just kind of persisted the rest of the day. The sun didn't come out anymore. And it wasn't raining heavily for the entire rest of the day, but it was drizzling. And then it started raining heavily for a little bit later on, like a second outburst. And then it went back to like drizzling. But the temperature dropped significantly. It went from a warm day to a cool evening. And so I mean, it kind of felt refreshing initially, but and it wasn't too bad initially, because I put our rain gear on before we got soaked, like almost immediately after I started feeling that it's starting to rain. I stopped and put my rain jacket on and put Riley's rain jacket on, and we're starting off with them on as well right now. So we were able to avoid getting like directly soaked by the rain, but with the rain just being so persistent, like, at least for me, I'm still getting some wetness on the inside. And as long as I'm moving and it's not freezing out, I'm fine for the most part. Slightly uncomfortable, I suppose, but fine. The main thing is that as long as I'm moving, I'm fine. And I believe it's probably the same for Riley. And then when it got dark, around, probably got like totally dark a little before 8:30, I was just ready to find a campsite. And so I was originally trying to get to this place called the Shaker campsite, but where we ended up camping, it was like still 2.5 miles to get there, and that just felt kind of far. And I was pleased with our progress for the day, so I just decided to venture out into the woods over there, and I had a feeling I'd be able to find some flat spot, and I was able to. And so that was awesome. I was like, great, let's just camp here. It was just cool last night, and we were damp and wet, and my rain jacket was damp, and my orange shirt was soaked, and my pants were damp. And I have a second shirt that I actually picked up, which I'm wearing now. It's this fluorescent yellow shirt. I found this actually a few weeks ago. Someone had just like left it in the woods, hanging on a tree trunk or something, and it looked really nice. And I thought about just leaving it there, but I decided to take it. I was like, this just looks like a really nice shirt, and it's very similar to my orange shirt. The same type of material. It's got a hoodie, and I figured it might be nice to have a second shirt. I started out with a second shirt on the hike, but I ended up sending it home to save weight. But I kind of rationalized that, well, the summer is getting closer to an end, and it could be helpful to have a second shirt as we get further north and further out of the summer and into the fall. Could definitely be helpful to have a second shirt to help keep warm, or at least another dry shirt, so I could put it on in case my orange shirt gets wet. Anyway, my yellow shirt got wet inside my pack because the rain seeped through, and everything in my pack got a little bit damp. If it was exposed, if it was protected by a dry bag or inside of a plastic bag, then it was able to stay dry for the most part. So, as a result, my orange shirt that I was wearing was damp, and my yellow shirt, which was inside my pack, was also damp. So I didn't really have a dry shirt to wear to bed last night. So, fortunately, my pants, before I was ready to go to sleep, my pants were starting to dry out for the most part. So I decided to wear my pants in my sleeping bag. I certainly got in my liner and my sleeping bag last night, and I decided to keep my pants on, because they had mostly dried out. They're very quick dry, and I figured with my body heat that they would be able to continue to dry up overnight. But I decided to take my orange shirt off because I just felt like it was too wet, and that it wouldn't really dry out overnight, and then it would just keep me cold overnight, and then I would be warmer if I would just take it off. So I went to sleep last night without a shirt on, but with my pants on, inside my liner in my sleeping bag, and that kept me somewhat warm, but not comfortably warm. So I was fighting for warmth the whole night, and I was able to fall asleep, but I did not have a very comfortable night's sleep. And I think I definitely would have been significantly helped if I had had a dry shirt that I could have put on inside my over my chest area. That's really like the most important area to keep warm. It's your core, and it really makes a huge difference if that area is comfortably warm or if it's slightly cold. And so last night it was slightly cold, and I would have been so much more comfortable if I had had a dry shirt to wear. And Riley was chilly as well. I could feel that he was shivering as we were going to sleep, but I think that was because his jacket was still a little bit wet. But I decided to keep the jacket on because I figured, I knew it was a cold night, and I thought there was a good chance that the jacket would dry out eventually, and it would just be better to have it on, and it would do more good for him to have it on than to take it off. And I think that was the right decision. It looks pretty dry right now. I think it definitely helped to keep him warm. Warmer than he would have been if he didn't have it on. We're continuing on here. Got a little down tree. Right, so Riley was chilly, I'm sure, and I was chilly. But once I got into my sleeping bag, Riley was able to cozy up next to me and get his, burrow himself into my sleeping bag to help keep himself a little bit warmer. And we got through the night. We were warm enough. I mean, it's not like we were in danger or anything. We were just uncomfortable. And I was hoping, I would have preferred, like, given the option of another warm day, like a little too warm, versus another cold day, kind of like what it is now, I would have chosen a warm day. But that's not what we got. Obviously, that's not something I have a choice over. And so, although actually, I feel like my choice changes depending on what I'm doing. So actually, the weather right now, it's actually turning into like a perfect day right now. Because the weather we have right now, it's actually really nice if you're moving. And now we're finally moving. And so we're able to keep warm since we're moving. And the temperature, it's on the cool side, but that's helping us to keep comfortable and avoid feeling like we're hot. And avoid the need to sweat at all. But this morning, it just felt frigid. And so I was just in no hurry to wake up. Normally, I'm not in any hurry to wake up, but especially today, after being cold most of the night, and then not having a dry shirt to wear, I had to get up to use the bathroom this morning. Not super early, but I did have to get out of the tent to use the bathroom. And when I got back in, that's normally when I would be like ready to start packing things up, but I was just so cold when I got back in the tent that I was like, I am just gonna slip back into my sleeping bag and into my liner and pull it over my head, and I'm just gonna try to go back to sleep. And so I slept for a bit longer. Who knows how long. And normally when I do that, when I wake up, I wake up because it's starting to feel too hot in the tent because the sun is starting to rise. And then that's what really propels me to get up, is once I feel that it's starting to get too warm. But that never happened. The sky is just continuing to be clouded over. All I can say is, well, one thing I can say is at least it's not raining. At least the rain has passed, and all we're left with is a cloudy, cool day. So, not something that helped me get up with any quickness this morning, but eventually I was able to muster up enough warmth and enough willpower to start packing things up and get things ready. And I feel a sense of accomplishment that I was actually able to get everything out of our tent and get everything packed up, fight through the challenge of the being cold overnight and being cold this morning. Hello. All right, so Riley and I are back here. I turned the camera off just now, just a little earlier when that other hiker came up on us. We chatted briefly and just talked about how our days were going, and I told him, I didn't complain to him a whole bunch, but I told him we just got exactly what I was saying to the camera, is that we were cold. We had a cold night last night, and we had just started a short while ago, but that we're doing better now that we're moving. And he mentioned that he stayed. I asked him how his night was, and he said it was good. He stayed at the next shelter is actually called Upper Goose Pond Cabin, and it's one of those shelters where there's a caretaker there. It's a half-mile off trail, which is pretty long ways for a shelter. And I even don't like going to a shelter if it's like 0.3 miles off trail. This is me just, penny pinching on miles. So Upper Goose Pond Cabin is 0.5 off trail, but it's one of those shelters that has a caretaker. It's got a bunk room. It's got a porch. I'm sure everything else about the shelter is fantastic. They probably even have charging outlets. But I think the biggest draw for this shelter, which I had heard in 2018, but I've not seen written anywhere in either my guidebook or the far out comments, is that apparently the caretaker makes pancakes in the morning for anyone who's staying there, and it's he just does it to be nice. And I think they do, and you don't have to, but I think they have a donation jar or a donation box where you can leave a donation for whatever you're comfortable leaving. And that makes sense, since there is a caretaker there, and especially if he's providing breakfast. Anyway, so that's something for me to think about the rest of the day. It would be a little bit over a 12-mile day, I think, if we're able to get there. On the positive side, I did get to do some more reading, a little bit more reading last night. And then this morning, before while I was working up my my willpower to start packing things up, I decided to pull my book out and do a little bit more reading. So I'm into chapter 2 now, and this is chapter 2 of The Firm by John Grisham. And chapter 2 is where the law firm that Mitch McDeere took an interview with, it's called Bendini, Lambert, and Locke, names of the three founding or primary partners in the firm. They basically selected Mitch as their guy for this recruiting year, like the one guy that they want to hire. They don't hire a lot of people. They only have 41 lawyers in the entire firm, and because they're a small firm, they don't need to hire a big class of people every year. So for the current year, I don't know exactly what year it is, but I think the book is set in the early 90s. They've selected Mitch as their guy. They think he's going to fit in, and so they are heavily recruiting him. The interview didn't even feel, at least the way it was described in the book, it didn't even feel like a traditional interview. It felt like just a meet and greet and just a recruiting effort. Basically, it seemed like the firm had already decided that they wanted to hire Mitch, and they were really trying to sell him on coming to the firm. And so the next step in the process is that they invited Mitch to visit the firm's offices in Memphis. The firm is, obviously everything is fictional, but it's based off of the author's experiences in law school, and his he, as I mentioned previously, he got the idea for writing this book from hearing about his classmates' experiences being recruited by the top law firms in the country, and he distinctly remembered one of his classmates describe an experience where he went on a recruiting trip, and it was a small law firm, and he said that he got kind of a weird impression from the firm, and he got the impression that no one ever left, which I guess by itself is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think he also got the impression that the firm was involved in some type of shady business, and he used the word mafia to describe it. According to what John Grisham wrote in his foreword for this recent printing of the firm, that's where he got the initial idea for writing this book. And yeah, so now in chapter 2, this fictional firm, Bendini, Lambert, and Locke, they have invited Mitch to visit their offices, and they flew him down on a Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening, and so he was able to arrive so he could spend Friday in the office and meet, see what it's like on an actual work day, meet a lot of the people that were there, just see what the office was like, and so far my experience in reading the book is that you really read it from the perspective of, it's not written directly from Mitch's perspective. It's written in the third person, but you really feel like you're in Mitch's shoes as the guy that's being recruited. and it just feels, as I'm reading it, it feels exciting, because you feel the excitement that Mitch feels while he's being recruited, and when he hears all the perks of the job, like the starting with the salary, which was $80,000 a year to start with, which was quite a good salary, especially, you know, for back in the early 90s, for a first year person in the workforce coming out of law school. But not just the salary, he gets to I guess they're not buying him a car directly, but the company offers as a perk the use of a company car basically as your personal car. And so the company will buy or lease a new BMW, and the new employee gets to choose the color, and then they get to use it as their personal car while they're working at the firm. And then for the office visit, the author described, you know, the offices in a lot of detail. Apparently the company's office is this old cotton manufacturing or cotton building. So in Memphis, I guess this is Memphis, Tennessee, and apparently their office it's just a historic structure that was built like 100 years earlier and previously used for some purpose in the cotton industry, like transportation of cotton. And then over the years it was repurposed multiple times and sold multiple times, and it was always in high demand just because it's like prominently located in the downtown area. And eventually it was purchased by I guess this Bendini guy, who is one of the founding partners, and he turned it into the law firm that it is, that it currently stands to be used for. And he spent a lot of money to modernize it and to upgrade it so that it could function well for the purpose that he needed it for, which was to house his team of elite, well-paid tax lawyers. And he described how they've carved out office space for everybody. They reserve all the corner offices for the partners, and the partners who inhabit those offices get to choose whatever they want for decorating the office, and all the decorations are paid for by the firm. And he described the library space. They invest a lot in their in-office libraries, because a lot of the lawyers need to do a lot of tax research, and so they rely heavily on the materials in the libraries to assist with that research. And he described that they, to support that, they have 2 full-time librarians on staff, and they also have a large team of secretaries. So each individual law associate has his own individual secretary, and partners generally have at least 2 secretaries. So they have a whole lot of secretaries in the firm. And yeah, so as I was saying, as I'm reading it, even though it's written in the third person, I'm really reading it from Mitch's perspective, and I can just feel the excitement that Mitch would be feeling as he's being recruited by this very prestigious and kind of secret but elegant law firm, and just all the excitement that he's feeling as he's seeing all this like really neat, fancy stuff. So as part of the office visit, he has this personal there's this particular member of the staff who's one of the associates in the firm who's giving him a tour of the offices. I'm continuing to enjoy the book quite a bit. The whole book, it's like 500 pages, and I'm just on page like 26 right now. But I feel like I'm reading it pretty fast for my general pace of reading. I definitely feel like I'm understanding everything that I'm reading pretty well, and I feel like it's, even though I'm generally a slow reader, I feel like I'm reading this faster than I'm able to read a lot of other books. So this is something that I have to look forward to whenever we get into our tent each night. So tonight, hopefully I can do some more reading and continue to enjoy the book. And it feels great to be moving again and just getting warm. That is really, really a nice feeling. And it's also good that we're not having to fight the heat. So there really is no perfect temperature for all activities on the AT. Like, so today's temperature, it was awful for this morning, you know, when I was trying to pack up and get ready, because it was just too cold and I just didn't want to get ready. I just wanted to stay in my sleeping bag. But for hiking, this is an excellent temperature. So sometimes I think to myself, like, you know, in terms of the weather, I often think that it's either too hot and just uncomfortably hot, or if it's not hot, then it's raining, or if it's not raining and it's not too hot, then it's like this and it's just cold. And very rare does it happen where it's just a nice, comfortable temperature. And part of the reason for that is because I think there's some truth to that, but also part of the reason for that is just that I'm not necessarily considering the various activities that I'm involved in, and really for each different activity there is a different temperature that would be like ideal. So alright, so hello, Van Gogh here with my dog Riley. Got my fluorescent yellow shirt on today. My orange shirt is stowed away in the mesh part of my backpack on the outside, so it can try to dry out. And Riley just insisted we come out here to this little view spot. I believe we are close to a town called Tyringham, Massachusetts. My GoPro battery that I was using this morning, it died on me while I was talking earlier, and it's kind of a good thing that it died on me, because who knows how much longer I would have talked for. But yeah, I think I was just saying that there are perfect weather conditions for particular activities, and what I would call perfect weather for hiking is not the same as what is ideal weather for getting up in the morning etc., etc., etc. That's all. They have really nice signs. Look at that. Look at that sign. That's like, it's much more modern than most of the signs that I'm used to seeing on the AT. It's got color in it, for one thing. Riley keeps pulling me. So Riley and I took a little break earlier, a little while after we passed the sign for the Shaker campsite that I was originally trying to get to last night. Oh, we got a dog here. Riley, come on, we gotta go, dude. So, yeah, we just pulled off to the side. There was a guy and his dog. Oh my gosh, there's just so many people here. What in the world? All right, another person is coming, so I'm gonna turn the camera off. Yeah, so there's a nice view spot out there, and Mr. Riley, I know. I know. I know, Riley. Oh, I know, Riley. I know. Yes, we just saw two hikers. The gentleman and his dog might still be out there, or they may have hiked on while we were talking with the lady that just walked on herself. And Riley's like, all the people are going south. Like, why are we going north? Let's just hang out here. Now we're really getting slowed down. We're really getting slowed down now. Yeah, so tiring him. The lady that just passed, she said she hates the heat, and she actually has a vision issue where, Riley, no, we're not. We already went out there. Come on, buddy. We already went out there. And she'll go like blind or something if she is out in the heat too much. So she was like, today is the first nice day in that it's relatively cool. Riley, I am walking and you are coming with me. There we go. And I mentioned how the signs were so nice, and she said that it's part of the Tyringham Cobble community, I guess. There's a community association with funds that pays for the signage. Come on, buddy. Come on, Riley. He hears voices back there. We are really getting slowed down here. Anyway, so we took a break earlier, and I had I made some lemon lime Gatorade with one of the drink mixes that my parents sent me. And by that point, the sun had come out, and it was blue skies. And then by the time we finished our break, the clouds had moved in again. And then all of a sudden, the clouds have moved out. So the clouds are just very fast moving. But now there's blue skies all over, and we can see the sun. And I've heard from several people, all right, Riley, we're going. Come on. I passed so many southbound hikers today. No northbound hikers I've just not seen any northbound hikers on the trail today. Although I assume that Firemaster and Rome, if they did stay at that shelter last night, I assume they passed us this morning sometime, assuming they got off to like a normal start long before Riley and I even got out of our tent. But we were far enough off the trail that we wouldn't have heard them pass, and they probably wouldn't have seen our tent. So of the southbound hikers that we passed, the first one that I passed, said that he had a good time at Upper Goose Pond Cabin. And then the last one that we saw encouraged me to stay at Upper Goose Pond Cabin. And he was like, yeah, the half-mile walk there is definitely worth it. It's a very nice place, and of course, you get breakfast in the morning. And I'm thinking actually, by the time we get there, it's probably going to be close to the end of the day anyway, given how late of a start we got. So that's probably our best option for spending the night. So At this point in the day, I am leaning towards staying at the cabin tonight. So, those are my plans for now. We'll see what happens. The other thing I heard from the southbound hikers, from several of them, is that it seems like we're in the clear for the near term in terms of rain. Like so basically for the next few days, I think I can safely expect to not be threatened by any rainfall. So that's good news to hear. Mr. Riley. All right. Van Gogh back here. I am wearing my camera on my headset around my forehead. And it's been a while since I last checked in. You can kind of see the bright sun up there. It's looking like it's getting kind of low in the sky, which means we're getting close to the end of another day. After we were up at that hill area near that view spot, I think that was called Cobble Hill. We descended that hill, and that was when we were near the town of Tyringham. We descended that hill. We got down to a road. I think it was called Cobble Road. And by the way, there was a loop trail that used part of the AT for the loop called the Cobble Loop Trail. So I think Cobble is also like maybe a town nearby, near Tyringham. There's something to the name Cobble. Anyway, we got down to that road, and there was a trail stand. It was called a trail stand, and it was basically just like a setup on the side of the road. This was not a very busy road. It was like a country road, not much traffic, and it was just like a setup on the far side of the road, a little bit down from the trail, not a far walk, which had a small wooden structure with a small roof on it. Nobody was there operating it, but there was a power source and a refrigerator inside, and there were cold drinks in the refrigerator along with some snacks, and there was a little board with prices on it and a jar where you could put money in to pay for the items. And everything was on your honor. Like, you could, if someone wanted to, they could just take something without paying for it. And I actually remember the same stand was there back in 2018. I totally remember it. Those kinds of things tend to stick in your mind. Oh, I think Riley sees another hiker here. All right, so Van Gogh and Riley back here. That was actually Firemaster back there, sitting on a rock, taking a break, eating some food. Didn't want to bother her with my camera, so that's why I shut it off as we were approaching. And I wouldn't be surprised if Riley protests a bit now as we're walking, because he knows Firemaster's back there, and it's nice that he's walking with me now, but I'm sure he hasn't forgotten that she's back there, and he will often just stop abruptly, and I will be like, oh, I need to stop too because I'm connected to you on the leash. And but anyway, so what I was about to say was, at this trail stand, yeah, I remember it from 2018, and so it's been there. I assume it's been there ever since. It's kind of like Trail Magic, because it's an opportunity to get drinks and snacks, right on the trail, but not certainly different from Trail Magic, because it's not free. Yep, there's the first stop there. Riley's looking back, and then I just have to gently keep walking, and he'll come until the next stop. But that's fine. Yeah, so there was a picnic table at this trail stand, and I wasn't necessarily planning to even stop in, but I saw Rome and Firemaster there because, you know, it wasn't far away from the trail, and they saw Riley, and so then Riley saw them, and then Riley wanted to go see them, so I'm like, okay, yeah, we got to go down now. So we talked for a bit. They had been there, I assume, for a little while, and so Firemaster was actually getting ready to pack up and leave as we were coming in. But they both stayed at the North Mount Wilcox shelter last night, which Riley and I had passed by in the evening, and we only hiked another 1.6 miles before setting up our tent. And so we exchanged stories about how our nights were and how our mornings were, and they expressed the same sentiments that I was expressing earlier to Mr. Camera, that they were very cold last night, and it was very difficult to get up this morning because it was so cold, and they contemplated taking a 0, but then they were like, we can't afford to take a 0 because it's getting so late, which is the same mentality that I have. And they were in a shelter too. Actually, in retrospect, it probably would have been, I mean, I knew it was cold, and I mean, I knew it was raining, and I knew we were wet, but I didn't realize last night that we were going to feel so cold this morning, and it was going to be so hard to get out of our tent. But in retrospect, it would have been a better decision to just stop at that last shelter, go into the shelter, sleep inside the shelter, and for the single reason that we wouldn't have had to deal with breaking down our tent. We wouldn't necessarily have been warmer in the shelter, but it would have been so much easier to get going this morning because, number one, there would have been a privy there. So if and when I needed to use the bathroom in the morning, I would have been able to just use the privy, which is always a nice convenience to have. And plus, it's just so much easier to get going when all you have to do is put your stuff in your backpack, as opposed to first get out of your tent and then break down your tent. That is a big hurdle in itself, especially in the cold, especially in the cold. So yeah, it was nice to see them, and it was nice to commiserate with them about our shared experience last night. I feel like this is where trail friendships and relationships are really formed and really strengthened, is when people are going through the same, you know, not just hiking together, but also going through some rough episodes, some rough stretches on trail, that they're both getting through together, and they can, even if they can't make it go away, they can at least support each other by getting through it together one way or another. And then you know, just talking about it, and it's always nice to talk about it when you're through it on the other side and you're feeling better, like we were today. We had both warmed up. We were both feeling better about, you know, feeling better because we had warmed up and we were getting moving, and we were no longer still bodies just suffering in the cold. Anyway, so Firemaster then hiked on, and I was thinking Rome was going to hike on with her. He's a very strong hiker, but he kind of stayed at the picnic table, and he didn't seem like he was in a super hurry to hike on. And I had just a few things to organize with Riley, so Firemaster hiked on, and then I hiked on after her, but it was probably like maybe a few minutes she left before us, and Firemaster was still there, and I assume he was gonna hike on, you know, not too long after us, but who knows, he may have wanted to take a longer break but eventually he's gonna hike on. And we've had a pleasant day since then. You know, no rain. The temperature right now is, it was getting a little warm earlier, like warm enough where I decided to pull my sleeves up to cool myself off a little bit. But we're now getting into the evening time and I can feel the chill in the air again, so I've brought my sleeves down. And it feels like a cool fall day. Very nice hiking weather. It would be cold if we were just, you know, sitting around in our tent, not moving. But with us moving right now, it feels very good. And I'm in the trail. We had a good stretch of uphill earlier, so I was moving rather slowly, kind of just trudging one step at a time. But the trail is flattened out, and now we're doing a little slight downhill, so it's very pleasant, very easy walking. And I have decided that we will be going to Upper Goose Pond Cabin and spending the night there tonight. That was another thing that we discussed together back at the trail stand with Firemaster and Rome. I guess they also talked about it with some other hikers they saw and got similar recommendations, and they both indicated that they're planning to go as well, and they're looking forward to the breakfast tomorrow. I think what I heard is that it's pancakes, and it's an enclosed, okay, Mount Wilcox South Shelter 13.1, Tyringham Main Road 4.3. Cool. So when we get to the other side of this road, I bet there's another sign on the other side of the road that indicates how far the cabin is from here. And the cabin, it's called Upper Goose Pond Cabin because it's next to this pond, I believe, called Upper Goose Pond. So that's where the sun is. It's definitely getting low in the sky, but we still have plenty of light to work with. Hold up, Mr. Riley. Beautiful AT sign there. Upper Goose Pond Natural Area Boundary 1.1. US Route 20, 4.3. Oh, I think what this means is that maybe the cabin is 1.1. Okay, whatever. I think that sign indicates that we're now crossing the Upper Goose Pond, like crossing into this area called Upper Goose Pond Natural Area, and the cabin is 1.1 miles away, maybe. So I'm thinking when we settle in at the cabin, I think we'll have hiked about 12.6 miles in the day. I think that's about it, but I'll double check that when we get there. It's definitely over whatever the average is. Riley, stopping abruptly. Unless there's a good reason. If you don't have a good reason, stop stopping, please. Yeah, and we're losing I mean, it just makes sense to go to this cabin area, even though we're not hiking as much as we usually do, because number one, from the sunlight, it's going to get dark soon. Number two, it's a nice place. It's on the lake. They have enclosed bunk room. Will be nice and warm tonight. There will definitely be, I mean, I know Firemaster and Rome are going to be there, so we can talk with them and get to know them better, and there will probably be southbound hikers there, because we're kind of in the southbound bubble right now, and it's definitely a popular place for people to stop for the night. It seems like there was a good crew of southbound hikers there last night from the people I saw today. And also with the next few towns that we're approaching, it really works pretty well with the mileage. Riley, stop waiting for Firemaster. Let's just walk. Let's just get there, and then she'll show up and you can see her again. So from this cabin, there's actually 3 more destination points in the next few days. So the next one coming up is this house, private house, that is about 1/10 of a mile off the trail. And oh, the other thing before I say that is in 2018 I did not go to Upper Goose Pond Cabin. I actually had, my dad was in the area, and I had met my dad in Great Barrington, and we had stayed at a motel in Great Barrington. Then a couple days later, actually the next day, I actually made it to North Wilcox Mountain Shelter, or North Mount Wilcox Shelter. And then from there, the next day, I remember that I wanted to do a bigger day in terms of mileage. And so when I got to the side trail for the cabin, I decided to continue hiking to try to get farther. But then almost right after I passed the side trail, clouds moved in, and there was this big thunderstorm, really big thunderstorm, and I got absolutely soaked. And I made it about maybe, I don't remember how far it was, but not much further. And I got to this parking area, maybe like a couple miles more. I got to this parking area, and there was this Trail Magic place set up, but it was already kind of late, like evening time, so they were already starting to pack up. But there were 3 other hikers who were all huddled under a tarp, and they had indicated that they were trying to get out of the rain. All right, so as I was saying, I did not go into the cabin area, partly because it was, half a mile off trail, and I wanted to make more miles, I think. But I ended up not making it much further because there's this thunderstorm, and I was soaked and just I was just miserable at that point, and I would have continued on, but I had the opportunity to bail because there were 3 other hikers who were planning to stay in a motel nearby, and they were happy. When I saw them, they invited me to join them. So I ended up having a good night anyway. But I just mentioned that to say that I have not experienced staying at the cabin before, so that's another reason for me to go there tonight with Riley. Anyway, I know Riley. So just to explain my plan for the next few days, about 10 miles north, there's this house that's known as the House of the Cookie Lady, and she lives on next to a blueberry farm, and she's known for giving out cookies to hikers. But it's actually called Cookie Lady 2.0. I think back in 2018, I had heard about this lady called the Cookie Lady, but I had heard that she wasn't like home, or she wasn't like currently operating, as her reputation had, according to what I had heard based on her reputation. So I'd heard that she wasn't home, so I didn't go there back in 2018. But I think it may be run now by her daughter or something, and that's why it's called Cookie Lady 2.0. So that's coming up like 10 or 11 miles after the Upper Goose Pond Cabin. So we'll probably get there tomorrow. And if we get there early enough, then it's only a short distance off trail. Riley and I could stop in there, and that'd be cool. It's definitely something that I remember from my previous hike. It was like something that I was looking forward to, until I realized that she wasn't always there very frequently. Anyway, so that's possibly coming up tomorrow. And then there's this town, Dalton, Massachusetts, which is like 20 miles north of Upper Goose Pond Cabin. So that's something that we might get to maybe in the early afternoon on Thursday. Today's Tuesday. So 2 days from now. But then like less than 9 miles north of Dalton is the town of Cheshire, Massachusetts. So we should be able to get there. So that's like a little less than 30 miles from here. So I'm thinking we should be able to get there by Thursday evening. And they have a campsite, free campsite called Father Tom Campsite with electrical outlets. You can camp there. And I'm thinking it'd be nice for Riley and I to camp there on Thursday evening. And there's a Dollar General there. Although not directly, it might be like a half-mile away from the campsite. Anyway, I'm thinking with our timing, if we stay at the cabin tonight, we can pass through the town of Dalton sometime on Thursday, probably in the early afternoon. And there is a Cumberland Farms convenience store, which sells ice cream there, and there's also a sub shop called Angelina's. So we could stop for a break there and have lunch or eat an ice cream, and then continue on and get to Cheshire by the evening, and possibly get some good food to go to bed with. Possibly, I'm not sure how it's all going to work out, but that's possible. And then the next day, we're about 15 miles away from this road crossing that goes into Williamstown, Massachusetts, and there's a Stop and Shop like a half-mile off the trail. And I think by then, by either Thursday or Friday, we'll be ready to do a bit of a resupply. So I'm thinking I can do the resupply at the Stop and Shop, and we'll probably get there in the late evening, and we can have a good dinner there. And then there's a campsite like about 1.5 miles north of that road. So I'm thinking we can have a good dinner there, and even if I'm thinking like whatever time we get there, if we resupply, it's going to take us a bit of time, and it's going to be dark by the time we leave. So it's good to know we only have about 1.5 miles after that to get to a place where we can spend the night. So I guess what my point is that if we were to go further tonight, I don't think it would necessarily get us any further on the trail, because I feel like whatever we do, we need to resupply at this Stop and Shop, or that's where I'm thinking we'll resupply. And if we get there earlier in the day, we're still not going to end up leaving until dark, because knowing myself, I always spend a lot of time in grocery stores, and it'll be nice to have a good meal from the grocery store. So whether we get there, at 2 in the afternoon, or 5 in the evening, or 8 o'clock in the evening, or 9 o'clock in the evening, we're probably gonna just end up at the same place. So we might as well just enjoy tonight. Don't worry that Riley, calm down. We're gonna get there, man. Yeah, so hopefully that's clear. I should stop rambling here. It's good that Riley's energized again. I know, Riley. Actually, I don't know. I'm just saying I know. But I don't really... I don't really understand. I mean, I do understand, but I don't have the same desire that you do to charge forward. But I understand that you do want to charge forward. All right, so I'm going to stop rambling here. I apologize for belaboring everything. And we'll check in later. Oh, by the way, this is hold up. This is what I look like in my new attire. So I got my my nice flashy new fluorescent yellow top on. This is the first time that I've worn it, actually, and I wore it today because, see, look how much Riley pulls me. Hold up, buddy. And I wore it today. Hold up. All right, I'm just gonna close this out here, just because my orange shirt was soaked and it was really cold to put on, and this was less soaked. It was just damp, and now fortunately it's dried. So, all right, we'll check in later. All right, hello again. Quick update here. Riley is super excited So I think that sign that I saw where it said like Goose Pond natural area boundary 1.1 or so, I think that was just a sign indicating that the actual boundary for the Goose Pond natural area was 1.1 miles away from that sign, because I checked far out shortly after that and it said we were 2.1 miles away, but we've been hiking for a bit since then and we're definitely getting close. But once we get to the side trail, we still have another half mile to walk, but we're definitely getting close to the side trail. And what gives me confidence about that, number one, is we've been hiking for a bit since I checked far out. Should only take us about an hour, and I think we're actually walking faster than 2 miles an hour. And also I think this right here to the left of us is Goose Pond. It just makes sense that it would be Goose Pond or Upper Goose Pond. So definitely looking forward to calling it a day early, you know, getting to the cabin, relaxing, and having a better night than we had last night. And hopefully maybe getting some reading done. That'd be awesome. Yeah, so Firemaster is ahead of us, and then Rome is just a little bit ahead of us. He caught up to us just a short while ago and passed us, and then apparently he stopped by the water to check out the sunset, and then he just continued on. Mr. Riley, you're so excited, so excited. Hold up, buddy. Hold up, big guy. All right. I know, right? Oh my goodness. All right, we're finally at the side trail. So this side trail, we gotta walk another half mile. And I have said, calm down, Riley, like a million times today. Oh my goodness. All right, good evening. Riley and I here just want to close out the day for day number 110. So we made it down the side trail to the cabin and got to the cabin, and it's very nice. But unfortunately we're not in the cabin right now. We are in our tent. So we went up to the porch, and the caretaker came out to greet us. His name is Lobster. He's a very nice guy. And he informed me that dogs are not permitted in the cabin, which I did not know. But they do have tent sites nearby. So he showed me where the tent sites are, and he actually helped me find the nearest tent site to the cabin and to the bear box, and to the privy. So it's actually, yeah, so that helped to make it as convenient as possible, that I didn't have to walk a long way to set up our tent. It's very, very close to the cabin. But I am a little bummed out that we're not able to stay inside the cabin. That was part of the thing I was looking forward to not have to set up our tent tonight. And it's also, I didn't realize this, it's heated inside the cabin, so that would have been super comfortable. And Riley would have just loved being with all the people in there. But it is what it is. Gotta follow the rules. Apparently he said it's the property is owned by the National Park Service, and they're just National Park Service rules that dogs are not permitted in the cabin. And there's a sign on the front door saying the dogs are not permitted as well. And I checked far out just a short while ago, like literally just seconds ago, and in the description for this cabin on Far Out, it says dogs are permitted in the cabin with the permission of the caretaker, which I remember seeing. I didn't remember that exactly, but now that I saw it again, I do remember seeing that before. And had it said that dogs were not permitted in the cabin, I'm sure I would have remembered that. But I think when I saw it before, I was like, oh, okay. So it's not a problem. But it didn't stick in my memory for some reason. But I'm sure it would have stuck in my memory if it said the dogs are not permitted in the cabin. So that's incorrect information on Far Out. Anyway, it is what it is. Had I known that dogs were not allowed in the cabin and we would have had to stay in our tent, then honestly I probably would have just kept on going and not hiked the extra half mile to get down here. But on the plus side, this will still help us get off to an early start tomorrow because the caretaker didn't inform us that he confirmed that he does offer pancakes and coffee in the morning, and they're going to do it around 6:30 to 7, which is super early. But that will help me get up early. It will motivate me to get up early and should be able to get off to an early start. Whereas if we had continued on and just set up our tent at some stealth site, then I would not have been motivated to get up early, and we probably would have slept in much later than we're going to sleep in tomorrow. So it all works out in the end. Anyway, so at least it's not raining. At least we're not wet. We should be able to stay warm tonight. I have a nice dry shirt on right now, and my orange shirt should dry overnight. And also by setting up our tent here, it'll allow my tent to dry out too. So there's good things as well. Riley enjoyed seeing Rome and Firemaster today, and he hiked so much easier than he does when there's nobody else to hike with. So that was very nice. Yeah, so at the cabin now, we are at mile 1555.7 on the trail, and we hiked a total of 12.6 miles today. So that's where we're at. And tomorrow, and I also confirmed that we are, according to Far Out, we're 29.9 miles away from Cheshire. And Dalton is like 8.9 miles before Cheshire. So tomorrow I'm hoping to do about 15 miles. Basically the goal is to try to get to Cheshire within 2 days. So about 15 miles tomorrow, 15 miles the next day. That'll get us into Cheshire. And then we can stay at that campsite on Thursday night. That's at least the plan. And then make it to Williamstown and just... Oh my goodness. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. Calm down. Oh, it's okay, Riley. It's okay. So I heard what sounded like a tree fall somewhere in the distance, and Riley heard it, and he's... Oh my goodness. Riley's just hearing noises, so he's barking. And normally I wouldn't be too concerned, but it sounds like there's some people in the cabin that are disturbed by hearing dogs bark. Anyway, Riley will calm down, and the people in the cabin will be fine. I will say goodnight, and as always, hope everyone's doing well, and we will check in tomorrow. Okay, bye for now.